Right guys, let's start here. We're on EU. We have EU on the top, DXY on the bottom. Now before we start, it's US election day, so everyone will be heading to the polls to vote today. So I don't know how price action is going to be. Of course, we may be fine in London, and then I'm not sure what's going to happen in the New York session, but massive event obviously impacts everything. So we'll see how price action gets on, but I'm going to be extra cautious today. There's no need for me to jump into anything. It's just the voting today. We won't have the results, so more so it may impact later on in the evening and tomorrow if the results really drag out over a few days. So we'll see how that happens, right? We'll see how close the voting is and how long that takes. So yeah, from today onwards, very cautious week. So let's get into it. What's the daily chart showing us? Right, zooming in, we can see that previous day, yesterday on Monday, we've closed out as a high test bearish doji candle. We swept that previous weekly high, buy side liquidity, and that drove price down to close bearish ultimately, right? So that's predictable after taking out buy side liquidity, bearish closeout, high test. Will that bearish momentum continue today is probably the question. So far this morning, no, it's bullish. We'll see what happens on the lower time frame. We'll see what the structure looks like around this area, of course. If we go over to DXY, quite a large bearish closeout yesterday. We took that previous weekly low, but it didn't send price up to a small candle body the way it did on EU. So clearly we have some sort of bearish momentum and strength there. Okay. Also today, of course, we've opened up bearish, so maybe it's going to continue, or maybe we've got some sort of POI in this structure. Again, we'll see on a lower time frame, but price may just continue with that recent bearishness. So let's go to the 4 hour. Let's see what that looks like. So analyzing EU on the 4 hour, of course, it looks like we've still got our bullish structure. Okay, all right, we're making higher highs above all of these highs. Okay, high highs, high lows. All right, we spiked up above that previous weekly high. Like I said, we didn't close above that high just yet, but it's showing some sort of intention. Right, the only thing I am still currently wary of, after taking all this buy side liquidity and we had that massive opening gap, we didn't fill that gap at all. We didn't come down into this discount. So I think there's still potential for price to go down there. Now, if we look right into price now, we have an imbalance here that price may see as resistance, may fill this zone here and then reject to possibly head lower and fill this gap here, which I would have suspected that price does. Okay, so it's in the discount and that's quite a large imbalance to leave behind. So we may use this area or this, I guess, order block here, even though it hasn't made a lower low yet, but possible resistance here now showing itself on the 4 hour, right? I think we have a similar small imbalance here on DXY as well. So we may see some support around these zones here to pull back up to this premium, right? Where you can see we have an order block there that may be the future resistance and then future support once we sort of fill this gap area here, or maybe lower to this daily area. So pretty much the same as yesterday, right? I was surprised we didn't go lower. So possible resistance today, maybe a support here. We'll see what happens for price to come back up to a premium of that leg, which is still a bearish leg in my opinion. We have mitigated this 4 hour and 1 hour order block here, but we didn't get loads of bullish momentum and make new higher highs yet. So yeah, I'm thinking towards this premium, towards this discount, okay, coming from this premium, coming from this buy side liquidity and possible resistance here. So we'll see what happens on the lower time frames. Let's go down to the 1 hour, see how that looks. Now again, because we didn't come and fill this imbalance here, this price gap on the open, it's pretty much the same as yesterday where we have our leg here, bullish leg from this low to this high, we could say. All right, this is our discount zone here, which I would imagine we are to mitigate. We stayed in that premium, so not much has changed. Right, we had a bearish day, so an internal breaker structure, I guess, around this low here, probably on the M15, but you could say internally on the 1 hour too. We found some support on this area here overnight, right? So we've got overnight Asia price action bullish into this morning, pulling up towards this 4 hour POI, which I'll delete for now because just above we have a 1 hour imbalance as well, which we may head into, right? So we've got 4 hour, 1 hour possible resistance points, right? So we may head up into this zone here, and if we look on DXY, it's the same. We have a 1 hour imbalance POI zone here, which may provide support. Now if we see that resistance earlier, then so be it, but again, this looks very obvious with this imbalance for price to be drawn into that. So I do still see us going bearish given we stayed in this premium, but I will wait for breakdowns around this area to see if that's possible. So let's go down to the M15. So nothing for me immediately, right? We've been bullish this morning, which for me is currently just reading as a pullback to this 1 hour zone here, quite possibly, right? A bit more back into this premium, and then I'll wait for structure. I'm still favoring this bearish. Obviously, we're in more of a bullish trend recently. At the moment, I'm suspicious of price being bullish from this premium. I expect it to come and fill this gap somewhat. Right? I expect DXY to do the same, which is why I shorted yesterday. That short took ages, had to close manually. So we have that 1 hour POY floating just below. Maybe with this M15 order block, we'll see how far down we go. And we have this 1 hour POY floating just above on EU. Now, what do I want to see for a trade? Well, potentially price come up into this area here, right? Mitigate this 1 hour POY, maybe sweep its own internal buy side liquidity, and then I want to see price break down and then pull back to its low time frame order block with imbalance, right, that it left behind to go further down. Let me just fix this. So potentially some sort of pattern like this, because we've rejected this zone, right? We may have swept some internal buy side liquidity above any highs that it creates around this area, and these highs here as well, right? Buy side liquidity, internal buy side liquidity. Then we get a break of structure around this zone here, wherever we create maybe a high low, maybe down here, and then we leave behind an order block on the M15 maybe, and imbalance, right? And then we pull back to it, possibly correctively, leaving some sort of inducement there, and we can set our order to maybe go short, stop loss above the highs, and just to head towards these lows here, back down towards this discount, right? I'll aim for 3%, maybe these Asia lows. Now, I would definitely be waiting for an M15 shifting structure. Like I said, I don't know how to trust price action today, but this is our POY, this is our POY here, possibly support. Okay, we're coming from previous weekly high buy side liquidity, and we've got this massive gap to attract price. Okay, we're in the premium and we have this POY, just waiting for structure to do that shift and be on side, right? So that's what I see for EU. So let's move on. Now on to GJ, we're on the daily. I like showing this pair because it gets us away from a USD pair. What's the daily chart showing us? Yesterday we had another inside bar day, right? So we had this one here on Friday, this one here on Monday. So possibly showing signs of support maybe around this zone here. Maybe we've rejected something, maybe we're pulling back to a premium, or maybe we're going to continue our bullish trend. Okay, so the daily doesn't tell me loads apart from that, you know, we're not going outside of the previous day's highs and lows. So we'll have to see that closely on the lower time frame. We have previous daily high and low just above price. Maybe we'll head for some of that buy side liquidity today. All right, so let's see what that looks like on the 4 hour. So on the 4 hour here, I did like this bearish 4 hour leg. I did like the breakdown, and I saw it as a new lower low. I saw it as, you know, price possibly continuing maybe some sort of bearish move here, because we pulled back, we mitigated this zone, and we started to move bearish. So I thought we'd target this possible weak low. Now it's not confirmed that it's going to not be a weak low, or that it is, right? But it was definitely a possible one with this lower high made here and price moving bearish. Now overnight and into today, we've moved bullish. We're pulling back, possibly seeking out buy side liquidity. Now unfortunately for that bearish bias, it makes this high possibly a weak high, right? Because this high here failed to go on and make a lower low. So we're kind of stuck between that scenario of possible weak low, possible weak high. However, let's see what we do here with this previous daily high buy side liquidity, right? Because we can still break down from using the liquidity above this high or this high here. So we'll see where that goes. You can see I've got alerts set, right, for those breakdowns or for price to take that buy side liquidity. So let's go down to the 1 hour and see this a bit more closely. See, so on the 1 hour, I had this sort of internal leg here where we had rejected this 1 hour order block, made a lower low, right? So I had a high to the low, premium to the discount. So I was expectant of lower prices because internally we were breaking down on the 1 hour. Now this here looks very corrective, very trend liney, right? There's not much bullish price action in it, even during its own Asia overnight session. So possibly it's a trend line to be liquidated after taking out some highs, maybe here or here. The structure is a bit more of a difficult read now that we're pulling back and going to make these internal higher highs, but we're still in that bearish leg. I just want to see what we do with the buy side liquidity, and if we break down to seek out the sell side liquidity from this trend line towards this previous weekly low and possible week low. Right, so we're going to see what we do with the buy side liquidity here. I just like how it looks with this trend line, and we'll see if we get that breakdown as well to continue in that direction. So let's go down to the M15. Let's see what that may look like. Right, so a couple scenarios I'm seeing for my bearish bias. Of course, if they don't happen and price goes bullish, that's fine. I have a bearish bias here. So what I'm seeing is we could take the buy side liquidity above this high, or potentially this high, or even potentially this previous daily high, right? So what do I want to see on GJ for a trade? Let's just go with the most extreme high here. Okay, so if price keeps going up and then takes out this high, closes as a nice sweep of buy side liquidity, breaks down, break of structure below this low, pull back to a lower time frame M15 order block with imbalance to continue lower, targeting right this trend line here towards a discount. So we'd be in the premium, we'd have taken buy side liquidity here, buy side liquidity here, buy side liquidity up here. So what matters is to get the buy side liquidity above some of these previous highs here, and then we break down, break of structure, okay, with whatever structural low we create, leaving behind our order block with imbalance, right? Possible inducement during a corrective pullback to be mitigated, and then we'd have our order set with the stop loss just above the highs to go to the downside, right? I would just target 3%, but potentially it's coming for this entire trend line. So this is what I would be looking for. And as I said, because we have these potential scenarios, it could happen lower down, right? We could just take out a couple of these highs and then price breaks down from there. Or again, it could happen up here. So I'll be mindful for those scenarios. At the moment, if it breaks down from here, I'd probably want to see this logo on the M15, right? But we're going to have M5 internal lows around here, which may allow you to get into earlier. So that's what I see today. I hope that was clear. I hope you gained value from that. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.